Hey, Joe. Hey, Will. Can you guys hear us?
Yeah, loud and
Hear you
clear.
loud and clear. Can you hear us?
All right,
UL.
fantastic. Um, we have here our general body, and we have a lot of questions ready for you. Um, Before we get started, I'm going to just read off a couple of intros. So, um, is this? Yeah, let me go to the quick. Where are you guys calling in from?
I'm in Seattle right now, but normally Bay Area.
I am
Okay,
at ConsenSys headquarters in Brooklyn, New York.
nice. Awesome. All right, so go ahead and introduce you guys. If I miss anything, please go ahead and cover it. First up, we have Will King. Will graduated from Georgia Tech with a degree in computer engineering. He served as the entrepreneur in residence for the Sang Lucci Group. He's a mentor for the Blockchain Education Network, which we're part of as well. And he's the head of customer success, or was the head of customer success at Hub Logics. He currently serves as the project manager at ConsenSys and is a skilled programmer with some skills in marketing. Next, we have Joe Bender. Joe got his bachelor's and master's from the University of Pittsburgh in information systems. He was a consultant for the University of Pittsburgh School of Education, and he administered tech systems for the school. He also served as a web developer for Carmel Cove Inn, handled marketing and development, and he's currently a decentralization engineer, where he develops decentralized applications on the Ethereum blockchain. Did I miss anything from you guys?
No, that sounds about good.
A quick
Okay.
clarification. I actually left Georgia Tech, so don't have a degree on hand, but did have the experience of being beaten down by Georgia Tech
Oh, wow.
professors. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. You're going to join Zuckerberg and Gates as another. You'll get another degree down the line, maybe an honorary one, but
We'll see.
we'll see. Can everyone hear the speakers okay? We got them a little. Okay, awesome. If not, you can move up. That would help as well. So we have some questions prepared, but we also have a slide due online where folks can type in their questions, and we will be moderating. Can't speak today. Up here in the front. But the first question is, how does ConsenSys go about solving business problems from both the functional side, which would be with Will, versus the technical lens, which would be more of Joe?
Cool. I think we'll have both have parts to answer on this. So, as I'm not sure if you guys are aware, there's like a whole enterprise division of ConsenSys whose job is to work with Fortune 500s, governments, nonprofits, and really drill down into their business needs and figure out, honestly, if blockchain is even a necessary tool in a way to solve their problems. As far as how it's done, there's often a lot of workshops that are done bringing in key stakeholders. If you've done or know of working in the consulting world, it's bringing the key stakeholders into a room, asking them a lot of questions, learning about their current processes, and using kind of library of skills in our previous projects to experiences to figure out where our technology stack can fit into their business.
When I first joined ConsenSys, I thought everyone was going to be a crazy blockchain engineer, super good at coding, and it was going to be a very technical environment. But once you get into any company, you realize even software development companies have so many different moving parts that aren't technical. And it's kind of a lot of different specialized teams coming together to create something that is greater than the sum of its parts. So since we are a decentralized application development studio. We do really like to put the priority on the tech and on the engineering aspect of it. The words of our senior engineers hold a lot of weight, and we try to stay in a programmatic mindset. However, you do also have to think about things logically and pragmatically from outside, get your head out from behind code and think about the industry in general. Obviously, mainstream attention of cryptocurrencies affects everything that you do. You're thinking about your end user when you're developing, because right now when you're developing applications, most of your end users are other decentralized application developers. But we hope someday that a normal non-technical person will be our end user participating in the blockchain economy and whatnot. So I say we have a pretty holistic approach to our plan for global domination that includes technical prowess, but also just common sense, how to get a project up and running. Like Ethereum is just like any other company or project.
I appreciate that. Second question we have prepared today is, how does ConsenSys balance the different spokes or different internal projects you guys have going on with what Will spoke about, the services and consulting side?
So yeah, we'll start it off. We have a lot of different arms. I'd say we have 4 prongs. We have our full stack product, which is our projects and our spokes. You may have heard about Ujo Music or Uport. They're the decentralized applications that we're building. Also our dev tools, Truffle, a development framework that allows you to compile and migrate and test your code, has almost 150,000 downloads now, maybe even more. Number changes every day, as well as Infura, which is kind of scalable blockchain infrastructure, allows you to test your code without having a whole node set up. Those products are a huge part of ConsenSys, and they're maybe our most outward facing parts. The next prong is government and enterprise. If Ethereum and blockchain is ever going to get adopted, we need to get the big corporations and big government on our side. So we do a lot of consulting with large corporations to get them on the blockchain bandwagon, get them informed, and get them excited about the technology in general. Same with government. We're sending people down to DC all the time to talk to regulators and Congress people, trying to work together to create good regulation. People keep using the regulation buzzword and it can have a scary connotation, but regulation can be good if it's done in the right way. The third prong is education. On top of just the myriad of Medium posts, YouTube videos, tutorials, like GitHub repositories, all that stuff, we have the official ConsenSys Academy, which Will works very closely with. I'll have him tell you a little bit more about it in a second, but we just had a huge graduation ceremony in Dubai. Joe Lubin flew out for it and graduated, I think, 58 developers from the Academy who went from no Solidity experience, no blockchain experience, if a little bit, if any, to Solidity blockchain developers, and exceeded all of our expectations. Those graduates blew away anything we thought we were going to do with the Academy. So that was really exciting. And finally, more recently, is ConsenSys Capital. You may have heard about, we opened a traditional kind of venture capital arm headed by Kavita Gupta, looking at external projects that we find exciting. We have so many internal projects. We wanted to kind of assign people to assessing external stuff, as well as our token launch services, which we wanted to be kind of a one-stop shop for token launches. There's such a big thing right now. So many of them have gone very poorly and money has been lost because of that. So we kind of want to set a standard of excellence when it comes to token launches, with the modeling, the design, the execution, security auditing, the code, absolutely everything. We want these token distribution events to be watertight to keep those bad news cycles about Ethereum out of the mainstream media, much like the parity vulnerability yesterday in the multi-sig wallet. That is not a problem with the Ethereum protocol. It's a problem with some code that someone wrote on top of the Ethereum protocol, but we want everything relating to Ethereum to be up to par, and that's kind of what ConsenSys Capital is aiming to do. Okay, Will, take it away. I just talked their ears off for way too long.
Yeah, no. Those independent arms, I'd say, operate with a lot of autonomy, and so they grow at the rate as those leads in those areas can build a strategy around and develop plans for scaling. And in terms of specifically consulting and internal projects, I think a lot of times these engagements that we work with corporations on eventually lead to insights in verticals and industries that we may not have had expertise in, and help us develop some really interesting products. Like if you're familiar with Grid Plus, which is currently doing their token launch now, that was a project that came out of a couple of energy engagements that we did early on in 2015. But yeah, I'd say in terms of balancing, they operate a little bit independently, and we try to have especially for our project spokes, every couple of times in a year we'll do a internal kind of resource allocation type pitches that help kind of justify how much a team is spending and how much they can continue to scale their efforts.
Awesome. So it's kind of independent, but also share some commonality as well, shared resources. So the next question that we want to know about is, how does ConsenSys continue to succeed despite this volatility in the industry, like China banning ICOs, and like you were saying, Joe, the vulnerability in the parity multi-sig wallet? How do you keep up that momentum with so much stuff happening?
Go ahead, Will.
Sure. So I think it is because we do so many different things. It's a little bit like the Ethereum mesh, right? Like if one node drops off and if something is going down, there's just a lot of momentum around other projects. We can take away allocation from that project that might not be doing so well and reallocate, or we can double down and really focus on fixing issues that might be happening. In terms of specific events, with China banning ICOs, that actually has become a little bit of an opportunity for us. We're actually planning to launch ConsenSys China, and in a time where there may not be, it's like a little bit of a dormant era, and we want to have a head start there and dedicate efforts into growing the ecosystem there. And I mean, this parity stuff, generally, like it affects the entire ecosystem, and I think we're all in it together. So I think because ConsenSys has a big stake in the Ethereum ecosystem, we really make an effort on our diligence team, putting out security best practices, and continue just to educate the public in figuring out how to handle these problems together.
Yeah, I'd say another story about when I first started. I expected to come in and just have everyone at ConsenSys talking about the price and be looking at the charts and stuff, and I was just blown away by the absence of concern with the price or volatility when I first joined. And I don't know if it's because we're trying to ignore it or we're just too busy, but I think that the price has no reflection necessarily on the tech that is existing at the moment. If the price drops 25%, the blockchain still exists. The technology, the underlying technology and protocol, it isn't compromised by any means. The overall value of the network goes down, but I think we focus on the philosophical aspect of the blockchain and how it can decentralize society, give power back to the people, eliminate massive data silos that Facebook and Twitter have, and sell to other people to allow them to selectively advertise to you about the stuff that you actually want. So yeah, there's a lot of volatility. Yeah, days like yesterday, you know, parity multi-sig vulnerability, price goes down a little bit. The office still is functioning, you know, we're not there's not fires in the filing cabinet, SpongeBob scene running around trying to figure out his name, you know. We are a company and we got great employees and we are building stuff every day, and that doesn't stop when the price fluctuates. And yeah, like Will said, China banning ICOs, I think it gives the United States the opportunity to really take the reins with regulation and do good regulation instead of ignorant ban all ICOs regulation. Yeah, it's a volatile industry. The wild, wild west metaphor is so overused at this point, but it's overused because it's applicable. You know, you just gotta hold on tight and keep building exciting products that will make people want to interact with the blockchain. And I think we're gonna be all right.
Awesome. Yeah, Joe, and we were kind of thinking not only the volatility in the price, also just the volatility and things happening in the industry as a whole. But that was a really great answer from both of you.
Yeah, that's why I touched on China at the end there. There's so many different news releases and obviously, well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for having us, and don't think I didn't see you were the Bitcoin meetup, but I really commend you guys for branching out. You know, that's what it's all about. You are early adopters. I wish I knew about blockchain as early as you guys are in college. And it's all about not being afraid of new technologies, not getting tribal about your cryptocurrency. You know, I'm so sick of everyone hiding behind their walls and not acknowledging the benefits of other cryptocurrencies. And I mean, especially with the 2x announcement right now, neither Will or I can deny that Bitcoin is absolutely killing it right now. It's an incredible store of value, and it's bringing so many new people into the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So yeah, price fluctuations, big news, battles between cryptocurrency. Yeah, it's a mess sometimes, but it's a beautiful mess. You know, we're building exciting things because of it.
Yeah, just to add on that, like I think because it's so early, it's kind of two sides of a coin. Like you can't have hyper growth without this instability. Like there's a lot of opportunity in being in this mess of a industry where things are happening left and right. Like you have to be able to filter out the noise and pay attention to things that you personally care about. And if you have a vision for the future, like that's gonna in the end be like how you can add value to the ecosystem.
Yeah. Joe, and to address the Gator Bitcoin Club comment, we use Bitcoin more of a marketing play.
Yeah, that search engine optimization, you know.
Yeah, because not a lot of people know about blockchain, but a lot of people know about Bitcoin. So what I always say is that the Cheesecake Factory doesn't just sell cheesecakes. So
wow, good point. I like that a lot. Wow. No, every conference you go to, they're like, who here has heard of Bitcoin? All the hands go up. Who here has heard of blockchain? 75% of the hands go up. Who here has heard of Ethereum? The one nerd in the back raises his hand, you know. Yeah, regardless, I brought this is like my one Florida apparel. Yeah, go Gators.
Nice.
It's actually an ultimate frisbee jersey. This is not a Florida game.
Nice. Well, I
That's
think kind of like kind of to break the mold a little, Joe and I had some some questions for you guys actually, and I think when you were talking about the student body not necessarily being familiar with blockchain or Ethereum or cryptocurrencies and that sort of thing, like I guess maybe you can talk us through some of the experiences you guys had of like educating students, like what are the general mindsets of students who are drawn to this type of technology, and then like what are the most common kind of questions that you guys get from them?
Sure. I'm happy to begin, but if anyone else from the board or the general body wants to step in, I'm glad to share. But from my perspective, I think I'm a really good example of what I would like for others to be. So in January, I joined the club not knowing anything. I actually, my cousin works for ConsenSys now, Simon, and he had been talking to me about
Lap
Bitcoin
shower?
Yeah.
Lapshare. Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
last name.
he's downstairs right now.
Oh yeah? Yeah, you should ping him, tell him to come upstairs at some point.
Yeah, well, he's busy preparing for one of those resource allocation committee.
Yeah, he's got a big presentation
got a
tomorrow,
big
actually.
pitch tomorrow. Yeah, they're huddled around the corner going through their deck.
All right, yeah, that's what he let me know. But he has been talking and preaching about Bitcoin for a while. I remember, I think it was in 2015. I was like, "Hey, Simon, what do you want for your birthday? It's coming up." And I was like suggesting going to Elton John or something. He's like, "Hey, send me $10 in Bitcoin." I'm like, "What the heck is this Bitcoin?" And like, I don't think there was a Coinbase or any. There was like no clean way to do it. You have to read some Reddit posts and go into some site. And I was like, this is the hardest birthday present. Now that $10 is, I don't know, $100 now. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, he's been talking about it. I joined this group with Nathan and Antonio. There's a few others. We have now alum. And they just met like the Breakfast Club, like just like after Friday evenings, I would just hijack a club. And I would come and I would ask questions and learn. And, here Nathan's a really big developer. He really understands Ethereum and Solidity and actually led a workshop. So I learned from him. And, Antonio's really great about selling folks of like getting the mindset of fiat currency and really seeing that you can have it all in a USB drive, like your whole savings right here. But I don't know. I mean, I can kind of gauge here. There's some folks. Yeah. There's some folks here that new coming in, but we also have a lot of new people. I think probably you didn't know anything before joining.
Back in like May, I finally joined. And since then I've been pretty active. Yeah, so I'm Antonio. I'm the vice president, and it's great having you here, guys. And yeah, I would just like to add how interesting was back in the day, like I would say more than a year ago when we started the club, and we wanted to make the club official in the university. And it was pretty interesting the fact how when we said, oh, we want to do this Bitcoin club, and somebody in the university, in the organization was kind of shocked, like, oh, but Bitcoin is associated with the Silk Road and all these scandals, because there's probably somebody in the department up there that's in a high position that just Googled Bitcoin and saw everything. So it was a pretty interesting meeting we had at the time. So we were just like, there was this lady, and it was all of us trying to prove her why would we use Bitcoin in our lives and why it would be useful to have a club here at university. And that was super interesting to do that and just prove like, yes, Bitcoin has way more than just what happened with Silk Road and all the technology, and yeah, it's just amazing. So
Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say you guys come from a wide variety of backgrounds and majors, or more computer science, like computer related majors?
I would say there's some computer science here as Nathan.
Let's get it.
Oh, okay.
Who's computer science? So 1, 2. Here, I'll hold this. We got like 1, 2, 3, 4 computer science. Other STEM majors, other engineers, information systems. What is it? Mechanical. E2. And then other like finance, business, med school.
Whoa, med school.
That's great. And our founding members, we were computer science. I was industrial engineering and information systems. You were business. We had a philosophy major and a finance major. So we were like a really great representative.
Yeah, absolutely. That's blockchain is the union of those two. That is really incredible to hear. I don't mean to pigeonhole anyone and say that only computer scientists can be interested in blockchain, because as we're seeing now, it is disrupting every single industry. And my favorite conversations I have are with healthcare professionals who are like, why do we still have massive manila folders of health records? We need to get it on the blockchain. Or musicians, that want to bypass Columbia, Atlantic, and Virgin and give their music directly to their fans, stuff like that. So really glad to see a mishmash of backgrounds here.
Awesome. And feel free to jump in whenever. We have a good deck here, but if you want to poke more about us, feel free to do so. Next question we have is, how does ConsenSys remain organized through the decentralized nature and lack of hierarchy? This is especially with, it could work with an organization with 10 people, 20 people, but now you guys are almost, 200 people?
Almost 400.
400. Yeah. So, I don't even know. I think when I spoke with, I don't know who, you guys were at 200. But yeah, how do you remain with your, not like a bunch of chickens with your heads cut off with so many folks?
So we, through a lot of experimentation, although it may seem like decentralized organizations are a slightly newer thing, and because blockchain is new, it's nothing. I'm from the school of thought that nothing really is original. It's a little bit of a remix. Like even the blockchain took in a lot of cryptographic primitives, and of course the innovation around actually putting them together. But I think there have been examples of decentralized organizations in the past, and I've looked into even like the Native American Apache tribes, things like that, where they have kind of small tribes of leaders and self-organization through that way. And we have a couple parts of our organization that spends full time just thinking about how to structure the organization, design ways of collaborating and making information transparent. I think that there is a trade-off in the way that we self-organize, and there may sometimes be like a little bit of repeated work or wasted energy. But I think along with that comes a lot of the way that we get to this freedom gives us ways to actually think of new and innovative solutions. But some tactical things we have been investing more and more in Scrum and Agile development practices. We're a big proponent of some of the things that were shared in this book called Reinventing Organizations around teal organizations. There's I'll shoot you guys over a link around how the idea there is in that have evolved through this teal colored organization is one that thinks more about mission and values autonomy, and there are definitely strategies around having, although we do have a flat organization, there are project and spoke leads that are the ones who help enforce deadlines and report back to the hub on what metrics that are hitting. So a lot of learning from previous organizations, trying it out ourselves and seeing if it works, if we like it, if it feels comfortable or not, and constantly evolving from there.
Yeah, I mean, from the get-go, Joe Lubin modeled ConsenSys after a blockchain, completely decentralized. Each node is independent of the other, but all working together. And that allows for a lot of freedom to pursue whatever you want to pursue, research whatever concepts you want to research. You can hop on a team that you're excited about. You can leave a team that you're not feeling. And in this way, I think I noticed it like a month or two after I started. I really started to feel pride in the company and felt a sense of ownership. And just that the company trusted me to kind of take destiny into my own hands. So I felt a kind of obligation to the company to succeed. And when it comes to interaction between people, Joe has always said, you can do pretty much whatever you want while considering how it affects others. So you can do what you want up until the point that the decisions you are making are affecting other members of the mesh. And that is when conversations arise. So if you have a dispute with someone or a disagreement, you talk it out and you find a mutual solution. And if you want to work with someone and collaborate with them, you allocate some of your bandwidth to that, and it is whatever those two people make it. It's very free form, and like Will said, it does have some drawbacks sometimes, some communication breakdowns or overlap of work, but as far as I have seen, it has more benefits than drawbacks, and really just creates a super dynamic atmosphere. You walk in the morning, people are jumping from conversation to conversation, looking at each other's code, telling someone about an exciting article you read yesterday. It's extremely collaborative, casual, but focused, I would say. And Slack. We are a remote first company. We use Slack. We have 1,000 different channels, 1 million emojis, a bunch of bots. We have a bot that links you up with a different person every 2 weeks. And in a remote first company, it's good to just, as sometimes you may have a busy day and you don't want to hop on a 30-minute small talk call with someone, but then afterwards you're like, I just met a new person in my company. I have a new resource. I know what the heck they do now and can go to them if I have a relevant thing. And yeah, you butt heads sometimes, but it works. And I'd only want to work for a company that is modeled after the technology that we are building on, I guess.
Yeah, it's really nice to have that individual connection to your company, and also like those methodologies like Scrum and Agile. We do see that that's really important in software development, especially with small teams and stuff like that. I think we wanted to shift over a little bit more to opinionated questions and current events as well. So a question that we wanted to ask had to do with the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. And as soon as it was announced, we saw that Ethereum's US dollar value sort of went up. But just as a long-term perspective, do you think that the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance do you think it ultimately positively impacts the space, or do you think that it could actually pose a threat to the public chain, just in terms of use of the Ethereum token in general?
Will, you want to start out?
It's a good question. I don't have a ton of exposure to the EEA. They have pretty like open calls, but yeah, like a lot of stuff going on there. I recently connected with somebody who we have like a protocol engineering team that is focused on building enterprise ready, like public chain compliant as well. So it's kind of being this bridge between public and private chains. I think in terms of the the effect on the ecosystem as a positive or negative. I think the public that because there's just so much experimentation. You see like the open source system, even in like the web development and outside of blockchain, is the one that moves fast, and the enterprises, because they have a lot of legal security concerns, like they have to take time and to adopt this technology. So I don't think that there's going to be some sort of massive adoption overnight just through the EEA. I think in the long term, it's finding the balance and figuring out how to bring some of this technology into enterprises. And ConsenSys internally, like I think if you were to ask different individuals, there's a ton of different opinions on, even internally at ConsenSys, on the benefit of private chains. But I'd say in general, the fact that the conversations are happening and meeting somewhere in the middle and then figuring out solutions together is a good thing, rather than kind of the analogy being legal action. Like if governments like don't take time to learn, and technologists don't take time to explain what this is, then we're going to get things that we're just going to get legislation that is making like a broad swath of claims or judgments on the technology that doesn't make sense. And so there kind of has to be this conversation in order for anything good to happen.
Yeah, so like you said, EA announcement, price jumps. Anytime the price would dip on Reddit, everyone would be like, just wait for the next round of EA announcements. It almost turned into like a running joke. So the EEA is a lot of household names coming together and making the decision to collaborate on a technology rather than work on it behind closed doors. So yes, companies are making private blockchains because they're intimidated by a completely open, transparent public chain. There was just the EEA meetup in New York last week, and it was phenomenal. JP Morgan demonstrated a Quorum demo, which is their private permissioned blockchain, and they successfully processed a ZK Snarks transaction on it. Any development on private chains is good for the ecosystem. It means that developers are working on Ethereum. Granted, a lot of the EEA members are probably working on their private chains. However, by joining the EEA, they are making a public statement that they are ready to work together, build on each other's code, keep code open source and public for other people to learn from. And the EEA has multiple working groups, which I think is where it gets pretty exciting. There's the legal working group, supply chain working group, forgetting some of them. I think there's like a healthcare working group. And that is a cool way of bringing together relevant companies instead of just bundling everyone into one basket and being like, EEA, you can get broken down into smaller, more particular groups that are working towards a similar nuanced goal. So the answer to the simple question is yes. I think the EEA is beneficial to the Ethereum ecosystem. Absolutely. It is Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies coming together to proclaim they're working on technology together. No matter what Jamie Dimon says, JP Morgan is a member of the EEA and actively contributing to the development of Ethereum and blockchain technologies. So I think we'll have to wait and see what the future holds. I would say that the instant market reaction to like EEA announcements, like the MasterCard announcement or the big round 2 announcement. I think that will be diminished in the future now, just because the entire industry is growing, that less people are fixated on this one consortium. But yeah, I think the EEA is great, and all the members are doing exciting things, and stay tuned. I think they're going to have more meetups. The one the other day was great. Uport showed a demo. Datarella showed a demo of collaborating with the UN and doing relief efforts in the blockchain. I like the EA. I think you should too.
Yeah, I personally was always a proponent of the EA, but I've had other people come up to me and mention it as a concern that maybe it wasn't really promoting the public network as much as it should be. But I think that they're coming together to open source their projects. It's going to ultimately benefit the public chain as well. And I certainly do hope that they're going to interface with the public chain in the future.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, in the future, there may be efforts to combine, well, there already are in development, but combine public and private chains, or have them collaborate in a trustful way while still keeping some privacy. You know, a bank could do a bunch of transactions on a private chain and then send verification to the public chain of like a final amount or something. So we don't need to know all the transactions that went down. We just need to know that the final value was what the bank says it was. So little kind of loopholes like that allow private chains to not be the worst thing in the world, and make it more appealing to large organizations.
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much a good way of exactly saying what I was trying to put into words. So moving on, I think we absolutely need to talk about what just happened with the parity multisig. So a lot of people are talking about, oh, should Ethereum hard fork, should it not? What are your personal opinions about that? Do you think that there should be a hard fork to maybe release to allow users to access these frozen funds, or whether that be a separate hard fork or maybe just built into the Constantinople hard fork that's already planned, or maybe there shouldn't be a hard fork at all? What are your opinions?
I was waiting for Will to say something, take the hardball. So yeah, there's a lot of opinions about this. It sounds like someone's been reading up in the last 24 hours. Yeah, so possibility of unlocking some of those wallets in the Constantinople hard fork. It begs the question of immutability with the blockchain. You know, the one tenet of blockchain is immutable. You cannot change it, cannot change the transaction history. So then when a non-technical, normal, non-crypto obsessed person hears, wait, they're resetting something, they're going back in time, I thought it was immutable, what the heck? It can be confusing. Also, with the original multi-sig vulnerability, you know, it was a hack by a malicious actor that obtained large amounts of Ethereum. So some people said, what if we transition to proof of stake and then a bad actor has a large quantity of Ether, which allows them to have more weight in validation of blocks in a proof of stake consensus algorithm. It's also been rebuked that that amount of funds wouldn't give that attacker a significant ability to manipulate the blockchain based on the funds that were hacked from the original multi-sig vulnerability. The one yesterday had no bad actor. It had a stupid actor, maybe. Someone accidentally trying to kill contracts, killed the library of the parity multi-sig wallet and locked up X amount of funds. I forget the number already, but it's a big one. Regardless, a bad actor is not sitting on all those funds. It is locked up. A lot of the Polkadot token distribution event funds are locked up now. So Yeah, begs the question, do we revert this in the Constantinople hard fork? Do we say tough cookies and move forward? I'd say it's all different schools of thought. It's been a debate on our Slack all day. We have some people saying we need to prove the immutability of the blockchain and not revert these changes and bail someone out, especially one of the pioneers of Ethereum, Gavin Wood, and his Polkadot ICO. Seems shady, bailing out someone that was tied so closely with the industry. There's a lot of opinions on it. Wow, you're asking for my personal one. Will, you start talking. Let me think.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we can't really obviously speak for ConsenSys only personally, but
Yeah,
I'd say,
certainly.
I mean, I haven't fully looked up all the different branches this could go down, and there's, I think maybe some of the students are even more informed than I am in terms of there being some EIP that allows for like movement of basically like destroyed wallets that can be implemented without just like a fork of actually like manually changing balances. Is more just like patching the fact that all these frozen funds can be moved again. You know, I personally, with my level of knowledge in what is happening, like I don't think it makes sense to have a fork specifically deployed to fix these locked funds. One, because there isn't like some sort of time lock where it's going to be all distributed like the DAO, like it was going to, after a time lock, it was going to be given, it would be able to be siphoned off and given to basically paid to whoever the contract owner could wanted to. This is just sort of frozen there. It's unfortunate that, but most of these tokens aren't. It's you know, by and large, not like complete storage of value under one wallet. So, and even just like the amount that is frozen is a big number, but just to the size of the network now, it's just not, you know, it's negligible compared to like the 30-ish billion market cap of Ethereum. So, you know, it's definitely another hard lesson for everyone in this space, and keeps everyone on their toes. And I think, you know, it's worth considering something along with the next release of Ethereum, and to, if there is going to be a hard fork, to figure out if there's like an elegant way to release these funds. And I think what's the beauty of that is that it's going to be a collective decision with all the stakeholders of Ethereum making that choice together. And, you know, like, you know, you can, you know, Ethereum Classic is a thing, no matter how much people want to like, you know, push it away. There is there is something to it, and you know, like Bitcoin Cash is a thing. And,
yeah, Will, you're talking to the Bitcoin Club, man. They know all about
yeah,
side chains, you know?
yeah.
Whoa,
So,
ice cold. No, I'm playing.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't mean to put you guys on the spot, or certainly not speak anything about ConsenSys in general, just your own thoughts about it. I mean, personally,
yeah.
I was
Also, just very fresh news, you know, still have to read up on it. I would agree with Will, though, lessons learned, you know, with the original multi-sig parity vulnerability, I'm sure that the developer that accidentally left that method public instead of private will not make that mistake again. And it's just up to all of us developers to take note and realize you're dealing with people's hard-earned money on a massive scale. And that was the first thing I thought of during the first parity vulnerability, was just like, how must that developer feel losing human beings that much money? It would feel like crap, you know? So this is real life we're working with. Some people think it's fake digital money, but I can assure you it is very real, and it is where the fiscal system is going. So we gotta make it watertight now because the storm is coming.
Yeah. Like, again, just to make it clear, personal opinion, like I definitely would not be for any like specific hard fork just to release these funds. It just, like, it's at this point, the network is gaining more and more maturity every day, and you just can't be making hard forks for every time like a developer makes a mistake, even though it's costly. If it was sort of built into like a future release of Ethereum, I would look into that as a potential, but I'm not particularly, like, I wouldn't spend my own efforts in trying to release the funds, partially just because, you know, I'm not invested in any of those tokens. But if, you know, even if, like, I wouldn't know what to say if I was, maybe I would be putting more effort into that side of the equation.
Yeah, and it's got to take it as a case-by-case basis. You look at the DAO, it was a massive part of Ethereum's market cap. Vitalik came out and was like, we got to do this. You look at the first parity multi-sig vulnerability, it was an attacker, it was malicious. And you look at this one and it's like, this was a dumb mistake. I don't know if we should reset it for a problem a developer made. Final thought on that though, I'm just bummed because it's drawing away from all the other great stuff that is coming in the Constantinople hard fork. You know, they waited and split Metropolis into 2 forks because they really wanted to get it right. And there are some exciting upgrades coming with Constantinople. And I think the last thing we should be fixated on is if we're giving people their refund, their money back in that hard fork.
Yeah, and you touched about how it really is that much more serious because the developers have hundreds of millions of dollars at risk that they're pretty much responsible for. And so it is really important to verify your code. And ConsenSys releases really good tools like Truffle for Ethereum developers. And I was just wondering if there's anything in the works with ConsenSys along the lines of formal verification tools and stuff like that to maybe make it a little bit, make it more safe for people to develop and trust applications and smart contracts.
Your question broke up for me. Maybe Joe, you got it clearly, but something around formal verification.
Yeah, just asking about. You can repeat the question if Will didn't hear.
Okay, yeah. So the question in short is just: is ConsenSys doing anything in terms of like formal verification to help developers better secure their contracts?
I don't think we're specifically to my knowledge, there's always blind spots in every person in this organization. There's just no way to keep track of everything that's going on. We do have a department that's focused completely on contract security audits, and you know, they're learning new things every day and trying to abstract that into better tools, partially just so we can do more of that work and bring on more clients. There's just so much demand for doing even just dynamic analysis. So like just reading this code and figuring out what's going on. There's just a lot of demand, not enough knowledgeable people who can actually do it. And so I think when we do kind of get to a point where there's enough, we feel like there's confidence into how we can abstract these into tools, I'm sure we'll be working on it. I just, as of now, I don't think anything other than our current public libraries will be updating like security best practices and publishing things. I don't know about any like specific command line tools that we'll be releasing. Joe?
Yeah, I mean, formal verification can get a little buzzwordy with these legacy programming languages that have been around for decades, you know, you pop your HTML code into the W3C validator and it tells you exactly what's wrong with it, and it's nice and friendly. I don't think things are that clean yet with Solidity or blockchain programming because of a couple things. It's getting updated all the time, that the syntax is constantly changing. That one of the worst things is I keep following Solidity tutorials and just banging my head against the wall because I'm not aware that the syntax has been upgraded and I'm missing a period or a parentheses or something. So I don't think we're creating any formal verification applications to like straight up put code in and tell you what's wrong with it. But code auditing is one of our #1 priorities right now. We'll hit the nail on the head with best practices. We're just trying to like set the industry standard of what good smart contracts should look like. I'm pretty sure that our standard ERC20 token contract is probably used by most ICOs and decentralized applications, just because it's kind of the industry standard right now. We have a bunch of repositories. We make so many things public because we want people to comb through it and learn on their own. And it's also one of those things where best practices are still being developed. Every day in our Slack, someone chimes up, hey, I figured out a better way to do this, a faster way, a way to use less gas. And yeah, with every hard fork comes updates. They just added the revert command
opcode.
Opcode, which before you would just throw out of the method and it would waste a bunch of gas. Now you can use revert and save gas. So every little fork comes with upgrades. I'm sure strict formal verification will begin to come out of the woodwork once the developer community grows and just the entire crypto community grows. But yeah, writing Solidity code is not easy right now, and it's kind of up to your brain to do the formal verification right now.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of projects that may be doing that, I heard something through the grapevine around like Zeppelin releasing like a Zeppelin OS that I don't know a ton about, but they've talked about, they're big leaders in the security space too. So I don't know, maybe poke around with the Zeppelin guys and see if you can get them to do an AMA and ask them about Zeppelin OS.
Yeah, I'll plug their little DevCon challenge that they just posted. They had this like 6-part
Ethernaut
hackathon. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was hard though.
Oh, you did it all?
I did not do it all. I did some.
Yeah, I mean, ConsenSys
The install MetaMask part?
Oh
yeah. Yeah, I mean, ConsenSys can't do everything, so it's certainly okay to not be actively developing in some area. It was something that Vitalik talks about a lot, that that I thought it might be interesting to hear what ConsenSys is doing. And it's good to know that ConsenSys has its own development team looking over and verifying themselves, their own code and stuff like that, because it's very important. Do we want to start asking questions from the audience?
Yeah, sure. So should we just go and use Lido, or do you want to just do it? All right.
And just a reminder for folks in the crowd, if you go to GatorBitcoinClub.com, there's a Ask Questions button, and if you ask, it'll be populated on our form here. So
and you can also thumbs up questions that you like that are already in there, and that way the questions will get moved up, and then we'll just go ahead and take this opportunity to ask them this time. So I'll go ahead and start with the first question. Can you guys hear me well?
yeah.
Got you.
Yep. Okay, perfect. So the first question here is, how would a STEM graduate with considerable programming experience in Python go about transitioning to the crypto sphere? Do you guys offer paid internships? This is the first question from the audience.
We do offer paid internships. So
I suppose.
yeah, in terms of specifically, if you have developer experience, a lot of, all this stuff is new. So even just exposing yourself to a little bit of Solidity development, it's pretty much very similar syntactically to JavaScript. So honestly, It is quite similar to getting other software engineering internships. GitHub. You can even start interacting with the open source libraries that we're putting out now, or other blockchain related projects. If you are even just asking questions on open bugs and submitting pull requests, like those are big indicators to your interest. And if you're involved in your college cryptocurrency club, like you're in the right place. It's not a huge community. Last summer, our batch of interns like 50, 60 students. So there's probably a high chance, if you have coding experience, you're interested, like you have a good chance. And even if it's not with ConsenSys, there's just so many projects in blockchain popping up and not enough developers, engineers to fill that demand. So like, it's great, flattering that you're interested in ConsenSys. You should definitely apply to our internship program. It's going to be listed on our website and careers page. And we have, campus, like a person in our company that just will be handling campus engagement. If you haven't been put in touch with Aspen, like we'll make sure to make that connection so that someone at the Gator's Bitcoin Club knows when we put out those applications. But to my point that I'm trying to make is look for all types of projects that you're interested in. Even within ConsenSys, we have so much going on. If you have a good pulse on like what you're interested in specifically, and you're just like, I want to like work on state channels, or like do some research with like Grid Plus or a specific spoke, and like you show initiative in that project, like there's just an incredible amount of opportunity for you, waiting for you to start adding value to, and expand your eyesights beyond ConsenSys too.
Yeah, hitting a lot of nails in the head there, Will. I think smart contract development is intimidating, but it is not difficult. You can talk through any smart contract, a will. If I die, then send all my ether to this person. Gambling, 2 people put it in. If Patriots win the Super Bowl, then send the guy who predicted it right all the money. These are simple smart contracts, and a great developer once said, the longer your smart contract is, the worse it is, the more attack vectors there are. So having any background in programming can make you a good smart contract developer. And I see success stories everywhere I turn around ConsenSys. We had this kid, Nate Rush. He's still in college, and he just got super into sharding. And next thing you know, he's working on proof of stake with
Vitalik. Like he's being
Vitalik,
flown around the country with Vitalik, or sorry, with Vlad. Like he works directly with Vlad.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this girl who a couple weeks ago was a note taker, taking notes on some of our calls. She just put her nose to the grindstone, learned Solidity, and now she's doing smart contract auditing for our ConsenSys diligence department. The industry is so new, like Will said, that it's your oyster. If you get excited about the technology and show drive, you can be successful at ConsenSys or anywhere. A lot of places are hiring right now. Or go build your own project. There was an awesome meetup last month of these guys that built this CryptoPunks platform. They just created like 10,000 little 8-bit images and put them on the blockchain. These images are trading for like $10,000 a piece, and they had never written a smart contract before. They were their very project. And one other thing I would say is technical background is awesome, being an engineer, STEM, yada, 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 but we weren't crypto anarchists. And that's what's so beautiful about the industry, because it is so nerdy, computer sciencey, but it is also so existential and philosophical, you know, thinking about the way society works, the way money works, the way incentives work. Because that's all the blockchain is. It was a way to make people being selfish uphold a system, which is kind of wild game theory when you think about it. So watch YouTube videos, read Medium, do tutorials, read GitHub repositories, just dive in. And once you get less intimidated by it and more excited about it, you'll feel that moment that you turn, that you're not scared to look at 100 lines of code. You're interested to see what the heck these lines of code are doing. That's when the real fun begins. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you guys touched about your education, I guess, branch with ConsenSys Academy, and Joe, you just talked about how really you should be looking at doing these tutorials, looking at GitHub and stuff like that to learn. Are there any sort of resources yourself any sort of resources or sources that you look at yourselves to learn, or how do you grow?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the first conversations Will and I ever had. I had just started, and I had just gone down the rabbit hole, you know, taken the red pill, and I was just spending 9 hours a day combing through articles and stuff. And Will goes, maybe you should record what resources you're using, make a resource list. And I said, okay. And I started tracking all of the stuff I use, and now it's like 100 things, and the whole company uses it. You can see who sees your documents, and just like that, creating an aggregate of resources was disseminated to a lot of people. And you can do the same, you know, compile some resources. And that's the thing. I can't give you the magic website that is perfect for you. Me personally, I'm a visual thinker, so I like to watch videos or look at diagrams and flowcharts. Some people are more mathematical and just want to read code. I'd say just Googling Solidity and Ethereum will bring you to some of the industry standard must reads. Our best practices website is great. Truffle has great tutorials. They have a little pet shop tutorial. The Ethereum Foundation has the make your own cryptocurrency tutorial. And the best way to learn is to just think of something you want to accomplish and write code to do that. Say, I want to make a Joe token. So I look up ERC20 and see what methods I need and see how to make me the minter of that coin and stuff like that. Think of a problem and then write code to solve that.
If you can't think of a problem and you just want to be monetarily incentivized, there's a ton of bug bounties out there too. You may not be like someone who will claim it, but just like, you know, there's a guy who accidentally blew up the parody contract, and apparently he was a noob, or she was a noob. So there's potential for you to win bug bounties. ConsenSys just launched a bounty network. It's the URL is just beta.bounties.network. There's a couple of challenges up there. We just partnered with Top Coder. There's like a challenge of just like a hello world Ethereum, and you could be entered in to win like 50 or 150 bucks, I think, something like that. You know, if you don't have anything in mind that you want to build and you just want to kind of learn something here and there, you can pick up, go through a tutorial, or, you know, do some of these bug bounties.
All right, yeah. So we have here a couple more questions. Last one more. All right, so one more question for you guys then. So do you guys accept people with no programming background into your school, and what opportunity exists for non-programmers at ConsenSys?
Like I said at the beginning, it takes a village. You know, there are a lot of different people from different backgrounds here. Different age groups, a very diverse set of employees from different areas around the world too. And the answer is yes, we absolutely accept non-technical, not engineering people. For example, with ConsenSys Academy and Will, you need educators that know how to teach people code. If you just threw a bunch of engineers in a room and tried to teach people code, that wouldn't go well because engineers are not personable and super nerdy. You need all these different type of people to be a successful company and to build a good product. And in computer science college, they always say, you are not the user, because developers are always like, I know what's best, but they're not considering the end user's goals. So it takes a holistic approach. Trying to think of more examples. We have people in HR, we have people in charge of onboarding, that it is critical to appraise new hires, see if they're a good culture fit, see if they're technical or not. He mentioned campus outreach. We have blockchain evangelists going out into the wild and telling people about Ethereum, getting them excited about it. We're a decentralized organization. Will mention that there are people in the company that are just thinking meta about the company. Our org dev department thinks how we can be the most efficient decentralized organization as we can possibly be. And like I said, when I was mentioning your majors, it's going to disrupt every single industry. So every background has something to contribute here. It's like the World Wide Web. Only coders were not the only ones to reap the benefits of the internet. It was everyone: small business owners, bankers, artists. Yeah.
So I agree with Joe. I think there's opportunity everywhere, and I would say though that it doesn't hurt to understand, even if you're not a developer or coding, like to understand the underlying technology, to the lingo, and to know what the different terms mean around blocks and consensus algorithms and the things that are going on in the space. And if you aren't a developer, the question begs what do you want to do? And if you're good at anything very specific and have a skill, and then you have an idea of how you can add value, that's huge. Of course we accept people who are non-developers, but if it's just I don't really have any other skills, then it's hard to see where you fit in an organization. So know what you like and enjoy doing, and how you want to contribute, and just the projects and the tasks that you're good at, and wouldn't what are the things that you basically lose track of time when you do, and can kind of get into that flow state with. And all parts of our organization are growing, so you could be good at sales, marketing, social media, whatever, as long as you have some sort of enthusiasm, as well as a track record and some sort of sample projects that you can show off. We're always open to talented people who are excited about this space.
Awesome. Well, I think we're running a little late on time here, so we'll sign off. We want to thank you so much, Joe, Will. You've been great. You really do provide a lot of knowledge, and we do like to balance Bitcoin with other blockchains here. You answered the majority of our questions, but we really appreciate your time here today.
Hey, it was really fun.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. Wow, you guys have not only are one or two geeks at your school into it, but you have a club around blockchain technologies.
Yeah,
that's absolutely incredible, guys. Keep gobbling up as much information as you can. I always close speaking engagements with go out and learn, because in 10 years you'll look back and be like, wow, I'm really glad I decided to wise up to blockchain technology back then. It's just going to snowball. It's just going to get more exciting, and you don't want to be late to the party, you know?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Go home and study. Do your homework. Call your moms.
Thanks so much.
All right, guys.
Have a good night.
Bye.